Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Operation Parent and One Chance to Grow Up. We're thrilled that you're here with us. Operation Parent is a nonprofit organization with a simple mission. We empower parents and caregivers to have casual, courageous conversations with their children and loved ones. That mission is why we offer these webinars to provide practical tools, expert guidance, and support so families can navigate life's challenges with confidence. I'm excited to invite you to our next webinar, The Mind-Risk Connection, How Mental Health Can Influence Substance Use. We'll be working with Dr. Linda Richter from the Partnership to End Addiction and Stephanie from the Harris Project. So now it is my distinct pleasure to tell you a little bit about Julie, our expert today. She's passionately advocates and protects kids from today's substances. Every day, she helps parents and caregivers have casual and courageous conversations with accurate information about THC and hemp. She focuses on today's legal THC and hemp and its impact on kids, and importantly, gives communities confidence to create change in the presence and marketing of today's substances. Julie speaks to families, policymakers, community leaders, coalitions, and schools all across the country. We are so lucky to start our new year with Julie. We are glad that you're here with us today to learn about One Chance to Grow Up, their resources, and the huge difference that they are making across the country. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Julie Dreifaldt, and I've been with One Chance to Grow Up for nearly 9 years, educating, advocating, and working to protect kids from the harms of THC. I truly love speaking across the country, and I'm so glad to be with all of you here today. On a personal note, just last week, I celebrated the 35th anniversary of my husband and our first date, which was kind of a disaster, but we are now married 28 years later. We've been blessed with 3 adult children. Our son is a sports journalist. Our daughter is a labor and delivery nurse. And our youngest daughter is an education major and a ski instructor, living pretty much her best life at Montana State. We also have 2 giant Harlequin Great Danes. We call them the Denver Dotted Dreifaldt Danes, and they only add to our house of joy and complete chaos. So today, Michelle kind of covered a little bit, but I want to give you a little bit of breakdown of what we're going to be doing. We're going to get you all up to speed on how strong today's THC has become and why this ultra-potent THC and these other intoxicating products really pose significant mental health risks to our kids and our young people. We'll take a closer look at how today's commercial marijuana, kratom, THC from hemp, and psychedelic products are designed to be appealing and easy to access, and especially tempting for teens and kids. And we will discuss what actually works when you're talking to your kids in your life, how to educate, how to communicate, and how to have those meaningful, courageous, and compassionate conversations that really help protect young people. Like I said, I've been with One Chance for nearly 9 years, but One Chance began in 2012 when Colorado became the first state to legalize and commercialize marijuana in the country. So our founders served on the task force that built this brand new market, and it became abundantly clear that the ease of the consumer was listed as the #1 priority, and the safety and health of our children and our communities was ranked dead last, literally. Our mandate was set at that moment and our mission defined. So for the past nearly 14 years, we've been a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization solely protecting youth from THC and its effects. With over 11,000 members in every single state, we educate and advocate and really drive important policy change. We've helped over 36 laws that have helped improve outcomes for kids across the country. So if you need free resources, everything on our page is free. If you want to join our community, please check out our website at www.onechancetogrowup.org. So I want to start by setting the stage with a quick English and chemistry lesson here. The first substance we'll be talking about today goes by many, many names: marijuana, cannabis, weed, THC, pot, and for you Tom Petty fans, and the people of a certain age, Mary Jane. Kids often don't use these terms. Instead, they refer on how they use it. They vape it. They call it a cart, which is a cartridge, or by brand like Puff or Geek Bar. They also use the word THC based on study groups that we've seen here in Colorado. You may have heard about the two most talked about components of the cannabis plant. So the first one is THC. And if we were in person and you could pronounce it properly, I would throw you a little candy because it's a tough word. It's tetrahydrocannabinol, and that's THC. And that's the chemical found in the cannabis plant that causes the actual high. It's responsible for the changes in mood, thinking, and perception. CBD is the second one you've probably heard about, seeing at farmers markets or at grocery stores, and that's cannabidiol. And that's often described as a non-psychoactive, meaning it doesn't cause high in its pure form. However, this is a big however, CBD products, especially those hemp-derived ones that are on the market right now, are and can be still intoxicating. It's to note that these are sold in grocery stores, wellness shops, even pet stores, and it is not regulated, it is not tested, and it is not approved by the FDA. Also to note is a cannabis plant contains over 500 additional chemicals and more than 100 cannabinoids, many which have not been well studied. So today I'll be using the word marijuana interchangeable with THC, but that's what we're going to be talking today because I call it marijuana because that's how it was legalized in Colorado in 2012, and that's how it was written into our state constitution. But we're talking about THC and its impact on the developing brain, just to set the stage. All right, data, not particularly exciting or sexy, kind of boring, but really important to understand the landscape of youth substance use. So Monitoring the Future survey is funded by NIDA, which is a component of the National Institutes of Health, and is conducted by the University of Michigan. It's an annual survey of tens of thousands of students from hundreds and hundreds of both public and private high schools across the country. So this 2023 data shows the importance of social norms, perception versus truth. Kids need to know that despite what they may believe when they look around their school, only about 1 in 3 kids have ever tried marijuana or vape nicotine by the 12th grade. So they need to understand not everyone is doing it. A moment ago, I mentioned that social norming, and I wanted to clarify what it means. People in prevention use it a lot, but I want parents need to know what it is. So it involves sharing accurate information about the behaviors of most people to correct the mistaken belief that risky behaviors are more common than they actually are. Again, dispelling that everyone's doing it. Social norm shows that making healthy choices is actually the typical behavior. And that in itself encourages safer behavior, especially among kids who are strongly influenced by what their peers do. In our efforts today, we're talking about social norming means that most people do not use marijuana instead of using scare tactics. I want to share more good news. The 2024 Monitoring the Future survey supports this approach, expressing, quote, kids who were in 8th grade at the start of the pandemic will be graduating from high school this year. And this unique cohort has ushered the lowest rates of substances we've seen in decades. Great news. At the bottom of the slide, you can see the word however. However, we do know that marginalized communities have significant higher marijuana youth rates. Those in the LGBTQ plus community, as well as the Black, Brown, and Indigenous populations. Also to note, for the first time in years, female adolescents are using more than marijuana than males. So certain factors create a higher risk for substance use in adolescents. Family history of addiction, conflict at home, low school connectedness, peer pressure, mental health struggles, or feeling rejected for their identity. However, again, this is the however on the other side. The good news is that strong parent connections, open communication, and active monitoring will help protect your kids. Another caveat with this youth use data for all the kids in our country, there is a 3 times increase in vaping. Vaping, marijuana and nicotine share the same whys. There's ever-changing policy, there's kid-friendly products, and there's sweet flavors. My One Chance colleague, Jennifer, bought a nicotine vape pen last summer. That was cheap. It was $9 on sale. It was potent. It offered 600 to 1,000 puffs. It was kid-friendly. It was available in 14 fruit and candy flavors, and it was fun. You could play Tetris and Pac-Man on this device. This photo on this screen is a THC vape pen that I purchased in Oregon that shares the name of my favorite Girl Scout cookies, Samoa's. And FYI, that sticker on there, that little red sticker, fell off when I was unwrapping it. So kids would be really hard pressed to know if they were offered it, if it was even nicotine or THC. Professionally, One Chance speaks 90%, I would say, with adults, but in our personal lives, and we're lucky enough to have time with with students across the country, we hear most of these false messages at one point. As we cover a few, I would love to hear what other messages you might be seeing or hearing. So please shoot them in the private chat, and we'll take a look at those later. This is a handout available on our website. It's available in both English and Spanish. So I encourage you to take a look at it and share with the children and kids and young adults in your life. So I'm going to quickly share a bit of data around a few myths our kids are hearing and sometimes believing. Probably one of the most popular that I hear is it helps with my anxiety and depression. Well, the fact is, studies show that frequent use of marijuana can cause and exacerbate other mental health issues. It's just a little pot, Julie. It's natural and organic. In a few minutes, I'll show you additional products that will pretty much knock that myth out of the water. It's safer than alcohol. Just like marijuana, just like alcohol, you can get a substance use disorder from this. I'm a safer driver when I'm high. Marijuana use impairs, it's intoxicating. It impairs skills required for safe driving. Slower reaction time, impaired coordination, distorted perception. A recent Ohio study found that 40% of drivers killed in motor vehicle crashes in this one county tested positive for active THC, meaning that they had recently ingested it. These are all false messages kids get, not just from friends, but adults, therapists, television, movies, social media, music, influencers, and of course, the marijuana industry. I think marijuana is a bit of a unique product because it's sold and marketed in this country and in a lot of states as both medicine and recreation. So do you know any other substance where that is the case? I mean, can you imagine a pediatrician saying, hey, Johnny, take 2 fireballs to ease your anxiety when you go to the next party? No. However, anecdotally, I have heard many adolescent therapists recommending THC to their juvenile patients for sleep, depression, focus, and anxiety when there is countering very explicit science on that. Michelle, hear anything?
Got a lot in the chat.
Love it.
False messages that people hear. My favorite is that it's not addictive.
Yep.
Dealing with anxiety, use THC vaping to fit in or relieve stress. Everyone's doing it and they seem fine. Students are saying it helps with stress. My mom and dad do it, so it's probably not that bad. I hear it's not actually a drug. It's not as bad as other drugs. I can quit at any time. It's not addictive like alcohol. It claims, it calms me, or it's an easy way to relax. People say they are in California sober, meaning they don't drink alcohol, but rather they use THC.
Those are all really enlightening. I think we'll cover some of those in here. I think the one about my parents use it or my grandparents used it is a different product, and adolescents' brains are very different than adult brains, and they're still cooking. We have a lot of room to grow. I mean, there was a new study that was relatively small, but it came out in December that adolescents your brain can be growing up until age 35. So standard science is 25, but yeah, we don't know what we don't know.
That's right.
Thank you for sharing those.
Of course.
All right, you may have heard this data point before, but it's still true. I just double checked the numbers, and it's worth repeating. In Colorado, again, remember, it's the first state to begin this THC commercialization experiment. There remains twice as many medical and adult use marijuana dispensaries as there are Starbucks and McDonald's combined. So as you drive around this week, take note of how many Starbucks and McDonald's you see in storefronts or advertisements. Now imagine twice as many more dispensaries. This highlights the huge gap between what people thought legalization would mean and look like and the reality of widespread, large-scale commercialization. And it's no wonder there is so much confusion with the density of locations, the false messages we just heard, what is medical, what is recreational, and now we have hemp and CBD. So not only are kids confused, but adults are confused as well. All right, buckle up. I want to show you what's on the market today. These 3 vape pens are appealing to kids on every level. They're tiny, they're discreet, they're flavored like candy, and they're cheap. You can see the appeal. So the Black Biscotti vaporizer, let's do the math on that one. It contains up to 1,400 puffs, which can equate to a serving. It depends on what the product is. An estimated 3 to 5 milligrams of THC inhaled per puff. The total cost, including taxes, was $64.02. So that's less than a nickel per high. The middle pen is a psychoactive hemp product I purchased in 2023. It's labeled Bake, which is a euphemism for being high, and it's flavored cereal milk. How lovely. Using language and branding that clearly resonates with kids. And the pink and yellow vape pens on the far right pretty much speak for themselves. Lemonade and berry flavors averaging 75% THC. Again, bright colors, sweet flavors, extreme potency. This is what access looks like today and why you're here, because parents, educators, and policymakers need to understand how different these products are from the marijuana of the past. So today's marijuana, you can smoke it, you can eat it, you can dab it. There are inhalers, there's suppositories, there's nasal sprays. There's even nail polish and sexual lubricants. These products are designed for use in almost every conceivable way. Many are explicitly designed to be discreet and easy to hide, making them particularly concerning for caretakers and caregivers and our parents. So don't these look like treats you'd find in a kid's candy store? They're not. They were purchased from a legal dispensary in California. Puppy chow. When my kids were in kindergarten, we would make puppy chow on Sunday afternoons for the week ahead. Ice cream. Kids love these flavors. On the right is Uncle Arnie's 100 milligram THC drink. It was about the size of a 5-hour energy drink. Although the label says it contains 10 servings, the young bud tender, that's what they call dispensary employees, bud tenders. She told me it was a perfect, Julie, 1 serving size. The photo shows the glass with all 10 servings. So literally a single sip delivers 100 milligrams of THC. Equally concerning about this product is it contains caffeine and THC combined, which the effects we don't have much studies and data on. The inhaler is equally alarming. Our son has asthma, and I tried it, and his albuterol inhaler was interchangeable with this THC. So the outside could look like an albuterol inhaler, but the product would be delivering 700 milligrams of THC. And to note, most high school students are allowed to self-carry inhalers. So this product could be easily hidden in plain sight at school or at your house. I want you to read this. Take a second and read this slide. Think about how the marijuana industry has gone well beyond the tobacco industry's wildest dream of making a candy-like flavor to actually making drug-infused candy. As you can see, just like big tobacco hooked generations before, big marijuana has arrived, and sadly, this is where we are today. There is still widespread confusion between medical and recreational or adult use marijuana, and also between THC and CBD. But these distinctions matter for policymakers, for parents, for caregivers, trusted adults, and the easiest way to make them clear is to show what's actually being sold. To address this, my colleague Rachel O'Brien launched THC Photos in 2018, which is a free visual resource that documents real products, their packaging, and labeling. So a picture truly is worth 1,000 words. It's used across the country. It was used in New Zealand. Several prevention groups use it. These photos were taken in Spokane, Washington. We were doing college visits, and my poor family, every time I go to a new town, I go to the dispensaries around me to find these egregious products. And they did not disappoint. As you can see, there is chocolate chip cookie dough, there are pretzels, there are sugar packets, there is this Blaze soda. So again, very egregious products that are being marketed to kids. This is a free resource for anybody. You can download photos at thcphotos.org. I believe we have 10 states in there, and now we have hemp products up there as well. On to marketing to our precious kids. As a middle-aged mom, I love emojis. However, if you think they are all benign, think again. Each of these emojis has been confirmed to represent marijuana transactions, celebrations, sales, and promotions. So I don't want you to panic if you see a bee or a broccoli in your kid's phone, but I want you to be educated on this discrete form of communication. So FYI, see the cart, the grocery cart, that means cartridge of nicotine or THC. The fried egg equals baked. Butter and honey is representative of high THC concentrates, and plug is a dealer. So you need to know also that marijuana-related tweeting is associated with offline THC use. We now have America's first $1 billion brand of weed, and it's called Cookies. Of course it is. They have dispensaries in California, Colorado, Florida, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Oklahoma, and Oregon. When one opened near me, my elderly neighbor asked if I wanted to check out the new bakery with her. And I had to explain what Cookies actually was. Again, marketing is everything, isn't it? This was these images were from October. They had a back to school sale last fall. So they had shoes, t-shirts, hoodies, and backpacks, just with the logo of that. But look, if you go deeper, look at who needs a smell-proof backpack? That's a smell-proof backpack. And all of these were next to pipes, bongs, and this image of a young person getting high. Again, why does this matter? Studies show that past year exposure to marijuana marketing and searching online is associated with increased odds of past year use. Oh my gosh, there's so many colorful ads on Instagram, like the one on the left. Playdate approved. It looks like a Happy Meal for McDonald's. It's a THC ad. How old is that target audience? When my kids were in middle and high school, Vans was our first stop for back to school shopping. Skater stores are filled with marijuana themed merchandise. And how many of you watched and enjoyed the Disney movie Incredibles? Take a look at the little chocolate THC candy bar with the same name. Even Etsy is selling pot paraphernalia with that crocheted smoking pot plant. There's a method to the madness. Create customers early on, create dependence, and then the potential of addiction, and you now have a lifelong customer. Does that sound at all familiar to tobacco? If you take nothing away from today but this one sentence, I think this is the most important thing. Marijuana can change the developing brain. We owe it to our kids to make sure the adults in their lives understand what THC can do to the adolescent brain. So the teen brain is still under construction, especially that prefrontal cortex, which involves judgment, self-control, decision-making, and really doesn't fully mature until 25 or possibly later, as we're learning. A helpful way to think about it is teens have a strong gas pedal for learning and risk-taking, and safe risk-taking is imperative in adolescence. But their brakes aren't fully developed yet, and THC makes it even harder to slow down, increasing the risk of poor decisions and potential of long-term brain effects. Now, I'm not a clinician, and some of this science comes from experts like Dr. Libby Stout. So if anyone wants information, I can be more than happy to get it to you. So it's something called synaptic pruning. THC can interfere with healthy brain development, especially during the teen years. And adolescence is a critical time when your brain does this pruning. So it's wiring itself, it's trimming and strengthening connections so thinking, memory, and decision-making work smoothly. When teens are exposed to THC, this process can be disruptive. The brain may prove the wrong connections. It may be too early or in the wrong way, leading to problems with focusing and learning, memory, and self-control. Simply put, THC can change how a young brain develops, and those changes can have lasting effects. Since 2015, potency in Colorado for THC has increased by nearly 800%, while levels of the other cannabinoids have stayed the same or even declined. At the same time, I do want to note overall teen marijuana use hasn't skyrocketed, but it's important to note how they're using these has. According to a Healthy Kids Colorado survey in 2021, nearly 60% of high school students who use marijuana in the past 30 days reported using high-potency THC products, such as concentrates, dabs, shatter, and now we have these THC vapes. This is a serious concern because the science is abundantly clear. Potency matters. Highly concentrated THC delivers much stronger doses to the developing brain, which increases the risk of addiction, mental health problems, and long-term impacts. Parents, remember, this is not the same pot, and the risks are much, much greater. And it's not just mental health we need to be concerned about. Smoking or vaping anything is not good for the cardiovascular system. I can't believe I have to say that again, but yes, it's not good for your body. THC can have serious effects on multiple systems in the body, including your heart, lungs, brain, gut, and reproductive systems. My college friend's son was the first double lung transplant recipient in the United States after vaping THC and nicotine. It destroyed his lungs. The doctor said it looks like he had inhaled mustard gas. And he was 17. So Daniel's life is forever impacted by vaping pot for just a few months. Remember one of the false messages that Michelle said and I shared? It helps with school, Julie. Michelle? Well, here we go. Everyone here today, whether you're a parent or not, knows the competition of grades, GPAs, and test scores in our culture. But look at the data on frequent marijuana use on the impacts of students' academic success, grades, absenteeism, failure to graduate. Executive function is critical for success in our world, in any job that you have, any career that you choose. And THC can greatly impact this needed life skill. To note, all marijuana user groups reported lower GPAs than non-users in this study as well. So that has been dismissed. Another thing that Michelle brought up in the chat was the potency. It's not addictive. Well, yes, it is. Because of this increase in potency we've been discussing, and it also has increases the addiction for kids. About 17% of teens, who use marijuana will develop an addiction, and that risk rises significantly for those who use daily. This condition is now formally recognized as cannabis use disorder, or CUD, which is a distinction of substance use disorder, and it can range from mild to severe. So marijuana addiction represents the most severe form of CUD. It's important to note that marijuana is a leading substance for which adolescents receive treatment. Nearly 55% of youth entering substance use treatment centers report THC as their primary reason. I do want to offer a trigger warning. The next few slides includes references to mental health issues, schizophrenia, psychosis, addiction, and suicide, which may be distressing for some. So if you or somebody else needs support, please reach out to 988 for immediate help. As you can see from this data, this goes back to the addiction. The time to talk to the kids in your life is today. It's right now. Progression from first use to regular use is concerning. Regular use is much faster with marijuana, 2.5 years compared to 2.5 months versus marijuana versus alcohol, which shows one of the major risk factors of what we're talking about, again, that addiction. These are some possible signs of marijuana addiction. Memory and concentration issues, we have mood swings, loss of motivation, relationship strains, they're not performing well at school, you've got increased depression and paranoia and anxiety, and there's also physical issues, the cough, the persistent cough, red eyes, elevated heart rate. Withdrawal symptoms are irritability, anxiety, you have problems sleeping, you have weird cravings, loss of appetite, your depression spirals. I think it's really important to note that several of these symptoms are the same reasons people say they use THC in the first place. So it's a cycle driven by false messages about relief. So for anyone trying to quit, if you have somebody in your life that's trying to quit, experts recommend being substance-free THC for at least 30 days to allow it to fully clear the system. And many symptoms can improve within 10 days, but some can last 4 to 6 weeks because THC is stored in the fat cells and released. Treatments have been shown to help include cognitive behavioral therapy, rehabilitation, and rewarding sobriety through positive reinforcement and personal support. Has anyone in the chat, Melissa, if you can just take a look, or Michelle at the chat, has anyone heard of this? It's sometimes called the disorder of marijuana commercialization. So it's called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. It's characterized by recurrent vomiting episodes in chronic marijuana users of particularly high potency, but not always, THC. It's classically relieved by hot showers, but so hot that people come into the emergency departments with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Vomiting episodes are typically associated with loud screaming, which has termed a Pueblo doctor here in Colorado has called it scromiting. She played a video for me of it. And it's a horrible sound you will never forget. It's very expensive. It can cost up to $77,000 with these large-scale evaluations. The only cure that they see right now is stopping the use of THC. And it often takes 4 to 6 months for the symptoms to stop. And once you get this, I believe, from what I understand, you cannot use marijuana again, and the symptoms will come back. And multiple reports of death from CHS have been documented from electrolyte abnormalities, renal failure, and cardiac issues. Michelle, has anyone heard this?
Yes. Many have heard of it, and they added some additional thoughts as well. One of our professionals say kids are calling it greening out today. Another one said recently a juvenile was diagnosed with this. Let's see, I've seen it with some of my kiddos. Someone said CHS is terrible. Body starts to reject the THC. Someone has a granddaughter experiencing that. So sorry. Especially in younger people.
Yeah, a lot of people starting it. There's a Facebook page called CHS Recovery, and it's grown from like 3,000 people to like 22,000 people right now. And people are very, very young on that site that are saying it's ruined not just their physical bodies, but it's ruined relationships and job opportunities. And yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that question, Julie. And the audience is really active in the chat today. So we really appreciate all of you that are on the call with us too.
Thank you very much. This major Danish study confirmed that high-potency THC for this study was anything over 15% THC, significantly increases the risk of psychosis, 3 times for regular users and 5 times for daily users. That's a big data point. What is psychosis? According to the National Institute of Mental Health, psychosis, quote, is a condition where a person loses touch with reality. Thoughts and perceptions become distorted, making hard to tell what is real and what is not. To put potency in perspective, in the Netherlands, which is often perceived as an open drug country, any THC product over 15% is classified as a, quote, hard drug similar to cocaine. Yet, in the longest established markets here in the United States, which are Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, 93% of the products exceed that 15%, which makes it impossible to find drugs that look like the marijuana of days gone by. Please note that cannabis-induced psychosis is now formally recognized as a medical diagnostic code. If anyone wants it, I'm happy to provide that. And also note, we have recently partnered with Whitney, who is a parent who tragically lost her son during a cannabis-induced psychotic episode. Since that moment, she has really decided to dedicate herself to raise awareness, what she calls the silent epidemic of cannabis-induced psychosis. Last summer, she worked with Texas Pictures to produce a storytelling summit, and she had over 20 families come to town to share their stories of that devastating condition. So what is schizophrenia? Schizophrenia is a serious, lifelong mental health illness and a long-term form of psychosis that requires ongoing, potentially lifelong treatment. It affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves, and can cause symptoms such as paranoia, hallucinations, whether they're hearing, auditory, visual, or they feel things that aren't there, very disorganized thinking and speech, and the belief that others are controlling or reading their thoughts. People with schizophrenia lose touch with reality. So this research shows that even one cannabis-related psychotic episode increases the risk of developing schizophrenia or bipolar by 47%. Remember, these are lifelong mental health illnesses. This risk is especially high for young males. A 2023 Danish study found that 30% of schizophrenia cases in men aged 21 to 30 could have been prevented simply by avoiding cannabis. For a powerful personal story, I really encourage you to watch Laura Stack's Operation Parent webinar, where she shares her son Johnny's experience with THC-induced schizophrenia and psychosis. Marijuana and suicide. This is what the research shows. Teens who use marijuana, even just a few times a year, are more likely to struggle with mental health than those who don't use it at all. This risk is higher for those with that cannabis use disorder, and over 50% higher chance of developing suicidality in adulthood if they use marijuana as teens. So again, it's not just a just now problem. It can affect a teen's future. This is a sobering statistic. Since marijuana commercialization began in Colorado in 2014, THC has been the #1 substance found in completed suicides among the youth aged 10 to 18. In 2022, THC was found at more than twice the level of alcohol. While these numbers are beginning to decline, which is wonderful news, they do remain deeply concerning. We have to note that today's marijuana is intertwined with the youth mental health crisis in our country. In Colorado, this is not abstract, it's personal. My own children can attest to this reality, having attended nearly a dozen funerals, one just 2 weeks ago, where suicide and substance use tragically are intersected. This is why understanding today's high-potency THC and its impact on the brains is so important. One legislative win One Chance is incredibly proud of is this first tangible resource in the United States, which focuses on the risk of high THC marijuana and the concentrates. This is a 4-page handout. This is just a snapshot of it, but it's available in retail stores, and it's also available on our website. But our state failed to really promote this required education, so One Chance stepped in, and we funded these English and Spanish language billboards across the city and digital campaigns featuring a black box warning. These warnings highlight the 4 significant state-mandated risks of marijuana concentrate use: psychotic symptoms, mental health symptoms, that CHS, that uncontrolled vomiting, and cannabis use disorder. Again, these are not opinions, these are official warnings, and they underscore why education and transparency matter. On a side note, I posted the warnings on that CHS website, and several kids were like, I never would have started if I knew that cannabinoid hyperemesis could be an outcome. Oh, the term gateway, it can be so polarizing, but I want to clarify what I mean today. A gateway is simply a means of access or an entry point. Our youngest daughter lived in Vancouver last year, and my husband and I crossed the Canadian-US border multiple times in a few months to visit her and to go skiing. There was a gateway town, Surrey, British Columbia. It was a place where I began my journey into Canada. Marijuana fits that definition, a place where kids begin their substance journey, and for the large majority of teens, this begins with alcohol, marijuana, and/or nicotine. I want you to read the fact on this slide. THC use at 14 is strongly associated with opiate use at 19. There are multiple studies in this past year that tell us that marijuana is not a harmless experimentation. It can lead to a problem of its own, and it's often where substance use journeys begin. Now, I want to clarify, I've shared a lot of scary science, and this is not about fear-mongering. These are potential outcomes of THC use during adolescence, not guaranteed. Some kids can use, that was a comment that somebody said, without obvious side effects, but we don't know what happens to their brain later. But the risks are serious and even devastating for their developing brain. But I want to note that recovery is possible, and teens can regain control and thrive in their life sober. It's also important to note that early use, frequent use, and the potency of use all increase the risk and these negative health outcomes. Delaying use until the brain is fully developed is another tactic some psychiatrists and adolescents physicians say. I thought this was an interesting way. A psychiatrist told me recently, he's like, think about the decisions our kids are making during this time, that we made during this time. If you're going to go to college, if you're going to go into the military, your careers, the relationships, finances, life partners, starting a family, keeping the brain clear of substances during this critical time really can support a much better life and a much healthier future. On to a few other intoxicating substances that are proving severely problematic for our young people. Amanda will be launching a poll right now. How have you seen or heard of these substances? So hemp THC, kratom, mushrooms or psilocybin or psychedelics, nitrous oxide. A recent quote from the FDA commissioner encapsulates just one of the many problems with these intoxicating substances. He said, quote, "People seeking to treat their ailments sometimes mistake a product as being safe because it's easily available, whether it's online or even at gas stations. But availability is no indication of effectiveness or safety." I think that's important. All right, what are we seeing in the chat? I am not able to see it right now. I can't see the poll. Michelle, can you take a look at it?
Yes. Yep. So let's see here. 85% hemp THC, 75% kratom, 46% mushrooms, 36% nitrous oxide.
Oh, wow. So you guys are seeing a lot of this in your communities.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a concern, and I want to just go over a few of them here. So thank you for taking that poll, everybody. All right, first up, psilocybin. What is psilocybin? First of all, it's a really hard word to spell, as our team has learned over the years. So psilocybin is a naturally occurring psychoactive substance found in certain mushrooms, which are often called magic mushrooms. It affects the brain's serotonin system, and it causes hallucinations, altered perception, euphoria, and a distorted sense of time. So for the past 13 years, One Chance to Grow Up has focused exclusively on THC, but we are now engaged in psilocybin policy and education in Colorado and nationally, including speaking at Stanford last spring about this, because we see similar patterns, we see similar warning signs, we see similar marketing. A special advisor on the cannabis and natural medicine said in 2024 during rulemaking, "We are not going to regulate this new industry based on what ifs and fears." Okay, we've heard this before. Just like marijuana, just like hemp-derived THC and kratom, the impacts of kids was not considered. And again, these products are available in kid-friendly forms and in candy. As of today, Oregon, Colorado, and Washington, D.C. have passed laws allowing psilocybin decriminalization, and some have supervised use. What do we know? We don't know a lot, but what we do know, in Colorado, 3.8% of students reported trying it, and from the Rocky Mountain Poison Control and Drug Safety, Poison Center calls for psilocybin under the age of 12 have increased by 723%. So again, it's the same song and dance. So here we are. Words matter. Here's a clear way to say it. So in Colorado, it is seen by the Natural Medicine Division. That's how psilocybin is regulated. And they are made available in healing centers. Those words alone send a powerful and incredibly misleading message to our kids, and excuse me, that psilocybin is safe and promotes good health, even before any science is even discussed. What's often left out is there's no evidence showing benefits for the adolescent brain. There may be emerging very tightly controlled science and research showing that psilocybin may help with major depressive disorder, but for adults, that does not apply to developing brains. So framing psilocybin as natural or healing without any guardrails really risks normalizing this product for our kids. So I grew up in Ohio, go Bucks, and I remember my grandpa used to go to a smoke shop to purchase loose tobacco for his pipe and for the occasional celebratory cigar. This was a smoke shop this is what it looked like for years and years and years. Nope, no longer. They now look like this. These are products that I found in a shop just last month: soda, kratom, hemp, ice cream cones, chocolate bars, mushrooms everywhere. I do want to show this. This was ice cream cones that were in Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored. I don't know if you can see it. It's called the Young Stoner Life, Young Thug, and it's, again, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. These were available at a gas station. This one I got was, it shows you how you can get high on these products. So if you take one, you're okay. If you take two, if you take three, you're just a puddle of mush on the floor. Again, these are watermelon waves, and this is a tiny little packet. So I do want to show you that. This is found in a Minnesota smoke shop. This is definitely not my grandfather's smoke shop, indeed. Okay, next up is Kratom or Kratom. It can be purchased in some states with no age limit, some with 18, some at 21. So what is it? It is a tropical tree that is native to Southeast Asia, and you consume it with the powdered form of the leaves in pill form or in powdered form. At low doses, it says it can produce stimulant effects with users reporting alertness, physical energy, and talkativeness. At higher doses, it can lead to sedation, physiological and psychological dependence, addiction, hallucinations, delusions, confusions, and psychosis. The brand that I posted here, Feel Free, has driven a viral surge on social media. Influencers market as a natural productivity boost or alcohol alternative. This wellness branding is incredibly deceptive. And one prominent influencer who was paid to support and promote this product actually had to go to rehab twice. And she shares her story on social media that she became addicted to this product. And as you can see from this Kratom margarita gummy, just like marijuana, the original leafy plant is being adulterated into candy. So this product was purchased in Florida, but I actually have one here that I purchased just a couple weeks ago here in Colorado. It can be available online. This brand, this White Rabbit, is available in many states across the country. The FDA has reportedly warned about serious side effects, and they're significant, but we need meaningful regulation. We need oversight. Because these products are continually marketed to our kids and they're targeting our young people. And they're exposing them to serious mental and physical risks. I want to note on this one, I don't know if you can see it here, but it says 0 alcohol, 0 sugar, 0 calories, 0 THC and CBD. So when I was in Minnesota last summer, this gentleman came up to me and he said, if it wasn't so scary, it would have been funny. But my grandparents arrived at Thanksgiving dinner last year high because they were driving across the state and they got an energy drink and it was Kratom. And they were driving while intoxicated and arrived very sick at their house. Nitrous oxide. Galaxy gas, say that 6 times. Galaxy gas is a street name for this nitrous oxide or laughing gas, which is typically used at the dentist or in whipped cream cans. But lately, it's become very popular among teens as a recreational drug, posing serious health risks despite its harmless sounding name. Significant risks include nerve damage, memory loss, oxygen deprivation, which have resulted in fainting, seizures, and people dying. I went to a vape shop last month and was shown a scuba-sized canister filled with nitrous oxide for $220. I asked him how it would be used, and his response was, oh, locker rooms, parties, concerts. Again, wow. Last but most evasive in our country right now is hemp-derived THC. There are multiple names for these psychoactive products, including intoxicating hemp, Delta-8, Delta-10, psychoactive hemp, legal THC. But One Chance has always said THC is THC is THC. Brains are affected by this intoxicating compound in any form. So while packaging may vary, language may change, we're being clear. We're talking about THC and the kids' brains that are at risk. The loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill that created hemp-derived THC did not restrict these other cannabinoids that you can see here. So we now have the creation and sale of intoxicating novel compounds without any regulation, no testing for safety, online sales, available in gas stations, smoke shops with varied or very little no age limits. So it's a problem, as you can see. I bought these products one afternoon and online. So I went to 2 stores and online, no oversight. Somebody said I had to be 19. Somebody said I had to be 21. Somebody said, oh yeah, your 18-year-old daughter can come in and purchase. The mom's apple pie in the far back has over 500 milligrams of multiple cannabinoids, and it's extremely psychoactive. These are hemp-derived THC pens, THC vapes, from a California vending machine. Yes, I said vending machine, with kid-friendly labels and cereal and candy brands adulterated for kids' sales and marketing. I purchased hemp-derived THC again online with no age gate 2 years ago. I easily and quickly purchased with the click of a button. I bought 600 milligrams of THC in those, I think, 3 products there. It was delivered through the United States Postal Service in a lookalike Amazon package with no childproof packaging, no universal symbol, all kid-friendly flavors, cookies, chocolate, gummies. My then 17-year-old went to the mailbox, picked it up from the mailbox, and said, hey, Mom, you have a package. And things could have gone very differently. This small package contained a lot of THC. The FDA has shared these warnings on hemp, but without a federal regulatory framework, we are left with all these states doing their own thing. So psychoactive hemp needed federal attention, and we got it. November 12, 2025, new federal law signed, no more intoxicating drugs marked as hemp or CBD. The loophole effectively will be closed November 13th of this year. Closing the loophole is one of the biggest safety and public health achievements in federal drug policy in decades. It may feel like David and Goliath, but we've shown that when families and science and common sense come together, real progress is possible. Keeping this law in place will protect our kids, strengthen our future, and help prevent new crises caused by deceptive marketing. Kids have one opportunity. We need to protect their and safeguard their futures. It's up to all of us to do this. The next 12 months are imperative. In early 2024, the Wall Street Journal published a heartbreaking and eye-opening article. More teens who use marijuana are suffering from psychosis, confirming all we have learned over this past decade. One Chance to Grow Up has worked with each of these 3 doctors and spoken with all of them, and their stories supporting these statements are absolutely devastating. So, what can parents do? The word and is an incredibly important word. Do you see my MSCN? In my life personally and professionally, and I have this prominently displayed in my office. Marijuana can have a devastating effect on kids and their beautiful brains, and your voice matters. 60% of kids aged 13 to 17 say losing their parents' respect is a top reason not to use substances. Another data point, teens whose parents and trusted adults disapprove of underage marijuana use are 72% less likely to use. That's huge. A strong, open relationship with a parent or a care provider is one of the most protective, powerful factors. So don't believe the myth that kids will do what they do. This data shows that it is different. For kids that are struggling, or for parents, we often are asked, what words do I even begin to use to have the conversation? So if you have a kid that's not using it, you praise them and share those social norms. Hey, David, I'm proud of your healthy choices. Most teens don't actually use substances. You're in the majority and setting yourself up for use. What happens if you have a kid in your life that might be reporting occasional use? Praise their honesty. Thank you for being honest and sharing your substance use. But did you know all the science? Using marijuana even a few times can affect your brain health. I recommend quitting. Do you have any questions on how it might impact you? If you have a kid in your life that has moderate or mild use, you encourage responsibility and make that change. Hey, Travis, I see you're using marijuana to manage stress, but it's causing problems in your life. You're failing your classes. You've been kicked off the football team. Taking a break might help. Would you be willing to try this for a couple months? And then if you find somebody that has a significant, probably a substance use disorder, if they're using weekly or more, this is really important to get referral to treatment and that you will stand by them through that process. What can schools do? Hey, learn about motivational interviewing. There are so many resources online. Ask open-ended questions, practice those conversations and refusal skills. Teach coping skills in your health classes, self-care, healthy communication, stress management. Provide facts and not scare tactics. Don't judge, try to be empathetic. And as we know, it's never just one conversation. This goes for parents as well. It's many conversations, and half of them are always in the car, from my experience. What can communities do? So designate and clearly mark marijuana-free zones around the schools, your parks, your libraries, your daycare centers with visible signage. We have the marijuana-free zone stickers available in Spanish and English language on our website. Provide families and trusted adults with free educational sessions. And if you have space in your community or your business, offer free space so you can have these places where parents and educators and care providers can learn more. Help to really enforce the regulations and age restrictions for marijuana access. If you know that there's a dispensary in town that's selling to kids, make sure that your local and state agencies know about that. And build healthy coping skills. Teach that stress management, creativity, peer support, emotional regulation. And last but not least, create those fun, substance-free or places and opportunities. So invest in sports. The 4-H is huge in a lot of rural communities. Arts, faith-based organizations, youth groups, and community events that really promote that communication, that connection, and the belonging. I would end with a few resources for you. The T on THC campaign is the first of its kind in the country to educate youth and parents about the risk of this high THC cannabis. This is a student from the 5280 High School, which is at the Recovery High School here in Denver. This resource offers a lot of information, curriculum, blogs, videos, data, and personal stories, and also a lot on healthy coping mechanisms as well. Other resources, and if you have any others, please put in the chat or share with me later. I would love them. But your local and health state department, Partnership to End Addiction, Johnny's Ambassadors, THC Photos, One Chance to Grow Up, of course, Texas Pictures, SAMHSA, They Hear You. These are all great resources. This is not the time to back down. This is not the time to reschedule marijuana. This is not, but it is the time to keep the hemp loophole closed. We need engaged parents and organizations to remind Congress and our leaders of one simple truth. Our kids deserve better. They deserve protection. They deserve adults in positions of authority who will stand up for them when it comes to these intoxicating substances. That must be the narrative. Kids before profits. That always, period. That's why I'm asking you to join One Chance to Grow Up when it comes to preventing THC use and protecting the developing brain. Parents matter. You matter. Your presence here today is a protective factor. Showing up makes a difference. So please scan the QR code, visit our website. Feel free to contact me directly at julie@onechancetogrowup.org with any questions, ideas, or topics. Thank you for joining me in this. And I really want to extend a personal thank you to Operation Parent, to Michelle and Amanda for this opportunity to speak with you all today. One Chance believes parents' voice are the most powerful in shaping kids' lives, safeties, and futures. And organizations like Operation Parent are essential in this work. They give you the parents, the science, the language, and the confidence to raise kids in a culture that increasingly normalizes substance use. When parents are informed, supported, and empowered, kids are safer. And that's why this work matters so deeply to all of us. The parent handbook that Operation Parent has created is an invaluable tool. One will help your family cut through the confusion and help start those honest conversations, those courageous conversations, and set clear, healthy expectations. I encourage you to check it out. Thank you.
Julie, thank you for that in-depth, wonderful presentation, and for reading our handbooks, and also what stood out to you and what you're saying about them. Our handbooks were created for moments exactly like this, when parents and caregivers are really trying to navigate such a tough topic without feeling overwhelmed or alone. So we want to let you know that Operation Parent handbooks covered today's hardest conversations, including substance use like THC, and alcohol, opioids, social media, gaming, anxiety, depression. There's a lot of tough things happening with our youth today. Our handbooks are made for caregivers, parents, foster, and kinship families, and they tee you up for very practical conversation starters, clear action steps, and updated information. Like, we've heard a lot of information from Julie today, and a lot of, they keep their resources so up to date at One Chance to Grow Up. And we thank you for how hard you work at that. Just letting folks know that our middle and high edition is especially timely with today's webinar. And we also offer elementary Spanish and Christian editions as well. So if you take a moment and click the pop-up on your screen, you can take a look at today's, and that we're offering at our handbooks today, and know that we are offering free shipping. You can grab one for your family or share them with a school, organization, or church to support the people around you. So consider it like maybe grabbing a sample of the handbooks that we offer. And to thank you for being with us today, we're giving away 3 handbook bundles with both the elementary and middle and high editions. So if you register for those here at the pop-up, you may be able to take one of those sample bundles to your community today. TNT makes it easy to host a fun and impactful prevention event. It includes a step-by-step planning manual, promotional tools, fun swag, and drug fact posters that teach kids about drugs, alcohol, and most importantly, how to refuse those. We have hosted TNT events here in our community ourselves, and would be very excited to talk to you about bringing TNT to your community. So you can click the pop-up if you'd like to learn more about hosting a TNT event in your community. If you're not already, please be sure to follow us on our vibrant social media channels so you can stay up to date on our webinars, as well as get advice and tips. Also, use the pop-up right now to register for next month's webinar, which is on a Wednesday this time, not a Tuesday, for those of you that have been with us for a long time. So now let's get to those questions. There are a lot of them, and we are thankful for those. Let's see, where should we start here? Oh, this is good. How can we support or advise parents that might see some of our conversation tips as being a little bit passive? So what they mean by that is advising to quit instead of discipline or requiring things. Should parents still require consequences of kids that are using? Or what have you seen be successful there, Julie?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that is a personal preference. I mean, we do know that just saying no, don't do it is not going to protect them. Kids are smart. They want the science. They want the reasons why. You know, it depends on the kid. I think protecting your mental health is a huge proponent. I mean, I do have a friend that drug tested her son every single week, and there were consequences. And some of them are natural that occur. You get kicked off the football team if you test positive. If you fail a test, then you get your license taken away. So I think that is a personal family matter that you'd have to figure out on your own. But we do know that conversations, I just was walking my dogs the other day, and my friend's like, I never really talked to my kids about drugs because I was always afraid it was going to give them the idea to try it. And we know from science that is not the case. Just bringing something up is not going to open the door and open curiosity. And the conversations we know need to happen at a younger and younger age. I mean, I recommend late elementary school, because if you're waiting to high school to have these conversations, most of your kids have been exposed to substances before that, or at least the conversations around them.
Yep, that's right. And this isn't related directly to consequences, but I know that Julie and I often hear, and we know the difference that a parent's opinion can make in initial use. So parents who are very clear about their hopes for the kids, their ability to working on skills to refuse drugs, like what you think as a parent is most important prevention, protection, if your teen may use initially or not.
I have a funny narrative about that. My son, when he was in 5th grade, I was like, okay, we had the whole conversation, and I was like, it's not going to be some stranger in a dark alley that's going to offer you drugs. It's likely going to be one of your friends. I was spot on, but he asked at that moment, he's like, which friend? Which friend's going to offer it to me? And I was right. But his first exposure to marijuana, he was offered a joint in 6th grade at the high school football game. He was in 6th grade. He was sitting in the student section and was offered it free. So he had the skills to say no, and have those conversations. Like, if somebody offers you something, what are you going to say? Blame it on me, blame it on God, blame it on my sports, blame it on my asthma. Like, have those conversations so your kid is not like stuck as a deer in a headlight when they're first having those. So
that's an awesome example. So good. And your gut, that you remind me too, like a parent's gut is often don't misjudge your gut, or don't, always a parent has a good pulse. If
Yes.
Your gut's telling you something, it's right.
And that is a thing. If check out who your friends are. Our moms and grandmas and grandfathers were all right. Like, you are who you surround yourself with, because data shows that if you have friends using substances, then you're more likely to use.
Good point, Julie. Here's our next question. Are the brands like the candy and cereal being used to attract our kids to use THC products? So are these brands concerned about their image on these products? Is there any company that's fighting for their brand not to be used on a THC or hemp product?
So the THC products, the ones found in the dispensaries we found have crossed that line of using popular branding, like the Cheetos or the Stonios that look like Oreos. Mm-hmm. Those are not available from a legal dispensary. So those are the ones you're finding. And it's like whack-a-mole. Once you shut down one, another one opens up right away. So it is a concern. We've reached out to Mars. We've reached out to the Girl Scouts of America, because you don't want to adulterate your fabulous brand, but that's an uphill battle, which I can't believe why. But like I said, it's like once you shut one down, another one is right there.
You're right. Someone in the comments said there's a brand, Weedos. It's called Weedos, and it's a knockoff on Cheetos. Like, it's very much a whack-a-mole situation. Yeah. A lot of folks had questions about Kratom. One viewer had a really strong comment that I just wanted to share. She's a labor and delivery nurse, and she said nothing, she's retired now, but nothing was worse than seeing babies born with mothers addicted to Kratom. The baby withdrawal were and are very heartbreaking.
To a Kratom store, my daughter went to University of Missouri, and I went during graduation weekend to a Kratom shop. And I asked the man, I'm like, what is Kratom sold for? And I encourage you all to go look at these. Don't be afraid. It's very interesting. We purchased for the THC photos, but go in and have conversations. So I said, what is Kratom sold for? And he said, well, it's a opiate substitute, but as your labor and delivery viewer said, it actually serves the same need. But the woman behind me, she said, no, it just gets me super duper high. So it's marketed, quote, as one thing, but it's really used as an intoxicant.
Yes. Do you happen to know if drug tests can show the use of mushrooms or kratom?
That's a good question. I do not know that. I can find out.
Yeah. If someone in the chat is certain about that, if you want to chime in, we'll circle back to that.
On a note, we are trying to get some of these products that they say they're psilocybin, but they're not psilocybin, but they're intoxicating. And we're having a hard time finding people to test these at the local and state agency health departments, because they don't even know what some of this stuff is. So they don't even know what to test for. So it's truly the Wild West. Like these Kratom products, these psilocybin products, these THC, we don't even know what's in some of these things.
Mm-hmm. Someone really gravitated towards your quote, Julie, and asked us to say it again, that availability is no indication of safety. So you might want to make that your new tagline.
Okay.
That really resonated with one of our viewers here. Let's see. Another participant lives here in Kentucky, says a family member was addicted to Oxycontin and now takes Kratom, swears it helps with any type of withdrawal, but now has to have that drug that he's, getting regularly out of a gas station. And so I would say,
going back to that California sober, I mean, sober to me is like removing all substances. And I mean, I'm guilty of caffeine. I love my caffeine in the morning, but it doesn't affect my daily use. So I think the California sober is a misnomer, because you're still substituting, just like Oxycontin with Kratom, you're still needing something to get through the day. And, again, adolescent brains are very different than adult brains.
Mm-hmm. What is your advice for maybe parents who use cannabis to store it safely?
There are a lot of safe cannabis or safe lockers that you can get that have locks. I would just Google that. That is a great way, because we do know that accidental ingestions for THC for the under the age of 5 or under the age of 6 had gone up exponentially. So if you do use, I mean, we level the conversation. If you do use, make sure that your kid again, support, like probably try not to use in front of your child, depending on the age, keep it stored safely, and say your brain is different than my brain. If your kid knows you use, your brain is very different than my brain. And it's not legal as well for the adolescents. And there's also the other, if you're trying to get rid of products, just know, do not flush them down the toilet. There's products that you can get that can dispel them, or a lot of health departments and police stations will take products, substances, intoxicating substances that you're trying to get rid of on take back days.
Is there anything that you would like to say about marijuana being changed from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, just very generally? Is there anything?
So we were disappointed as an organization and personally for that decision. There's a lot of science that says it still needs to be studied further. There are, and some people say it needs to be studied. We want to Schedule 1 to make more studies available, but there's hundreds of thousands of studies for THC and how it can be, the high THC can be effective. So again, we need to differentiate between high THC, between hemp, between CBD, between marijuana. So a lot of work has to go in there. Our organization has spent hours and hours and days and months talking to people and our legislators in DC, the staffers, the senators. So I encourage you, if you feel it should not be decriminalized, to reach out to your legislators and let them know. I mean, it's still a long path before it is. The president signed it, but there is language in there that we can definitely have an impact on rescheduling. And one of our co-founders, Diane Carlson, has several op-eds that I'm happy to share with your team if they want them. So email me about why this is definitely problematic and timely at this point.
Excellent. I'd like to just take a moment and thank Amanda for everything that she did to help us with this production. And she's asking for us to just remind the audience that handouts, including the slide handout in both English and Spanish, are available up on Operation Parent's website at operationparent.org/webinars. There are a lot of questions about particular slides, including a lot of parents were interested in the emoji slide that you covered. So we wanted to make sure folks know that is in there and available for either you as a parent or you as a preventionalist that would like to use it in your community.
And I do want to say, if you have an organization or feel very strongly as a parent, please reach out. We are creating a coalition. We have a coalition, but we always want to add to it. And Operation Parent has been a great partner in this, and vice versa. I think it's been great to have know that we're not alone in this as preventionists. And the science is behind us. I want to empower everyone. The science is behind us that these products are definitely need to be regulated or off the market completely.
All right. I have one final question. Do you happen to know, is there a diagnostic code for the scromiting, like a medical diagnostic?
I don't. I think there is, but I will get back to you. There is for that cannabis-induced psychosis. I think you said the right one. I think you and I talked offline, Michelle, about that, but I do not know. That's a great question, and I can find out. I believe there is.
No problem. We can find out.
Notably, people, I mean, there's a doctor that says, I used to see this like, once a month, and he says now I see multiple like per shift. And it's definitely a problem. The good thing is people are because literally like a year ago, a lot of even clinicians didn't know what this was. So I think we just need to keep educating people on this. And then it's a lifelong disorder.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're learning every day. One of the things I learned today from our audience is how much it's impacting very young kids more. In that particular slide, when we were covering that, it's younger than we might even expect when we're in the work from day to day.
Yeah, and then we have data points on pregnancy and breastfeeding, which I really didn't cover in this, but that is definitely an impacted demographic and population. So if anyone wants information on that, happy to get that to them. There's studies on that. And we do know that it does affect the developing brain in utero and can cause significant issues, not low birth weight at birth, but it can also cause mental health issues later on in life.
It's awesome. Julie, here we go. Someone says it's scromiting R11.16.
Thank you for sharing that, whoever did.
100%. Someone also said ICD-10-CM might be the diagnosis code, but we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, there are lots of audience members thanking you, Julie, for all of this information and your hard work on this presentation. We've got folks on here that are looking forward to attending the CADCA forum, and lots of other organizations on here. So the chat is lighting up right now with a lot of praise and thanks for what you put together today, Julie.
I'll be at CADCA and SAM Summit. So if anyone's there, find me. Love to see you in person.
Outstanding. Great. Thank you, Julie. And thank you everyone for being here today. We hope that you feel like Operation Parent and One Chance to Grow Up have got your back. We're here for you, and we thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Have a good day.